It has become a unique phenomenon across galactic history that starships are very rarely seen as mere hunks of laminar steel. Through their service, they are elevated to symbols, reflecting the hopes, fears, and qualities of those who served on board them. Starships have come to represent liberty, freedom, opportunity, independence, or tyranny. But it is rare to find a craft that embodies all of these things, a vessel that inspires different feelings in each person that looks upon it. The Venator Class Star Destroyer is one such ship. Today, what few remain are mostly confined to scrap heaps or forgotten wrecks, and debate continues on whether this is a tragic injustice or a fitting end to a warship whose effect on the galaxy still resonates. Designed in secret, the Venator Class Star Destroyer was part of a larger clandestine and illegal rearmament program conducted to prepare the Galactic Republic for a large-scale war. It was the brainchild of the innovative starship theorist Lyra Wessex, a designer within the renowned Kuat Drive Yards. Development was disguised within the company as nothing more than a purely theoretical exercise, but recovered documents from the Imperial Archives have since implicated the personal involvement of then-Chancellor Sheev Palpatine. This lends credence to the idea that the design was always intended for full production. In concept, the Venator class was to be a type of warship that the galaxy had not seen in generations, a Star Destroyer expected to fulfill a wide variety of roles. Anti-starship warfare would be its primary focus, but secondary roles would include command and control, underway replenishment, and troop transport. It was to be the backbone of a new Republic Navy, a versatile warship that even when unsupported could operate effectively and decisively. When the Venator finally moved out of the realm of the theoretical and was first deployed to the battlefields of the Clone Wars, it would excel in both these areas and many others. The Venator class utilized a dramatically angular, wedge-shaped hull. This was a characteristic believed to have originated in the warships of the ancient Sith Empire, but one that had since fallen out of widespread use. With a length of roughly 1,155 meters, a beam of 548 meters, and a depth of 268 meters, it was among the largest purpose-built capital ships of its era. A standard crew consisted of 7,400 officers and enlisted, but this could vary significantly depending on the size of the ship's starfighter wing and troop complement. The profile of a Venator class was marked by its distinctive twin command towers, which extended upwards from the ship's aft. The starboard tower held the navigational bridge and flag facilities, while the port tower was responsible for controlling starfighter operations. The navigation bridge in particular featured the raised command walkway and sunken information center that would become common across subsequent Republic and later Imperial warships. Despite their outward specialization, both towers were designed with some level of redundancy, with duplicated main and secondary systems, ensuring that the loss of one tower would not necessarily cripple the operation of the ship. The ship's two primary weapons batteries were located on either side of the command towers, and each consisted of 4 double-barreled DBY-827 heavy turbo-laser turrets. These were positioned in such a way that the Venator class could simultaneously engage multiple enemy vessels on either side, or deliver a single, coordinated frontal salvo. Secondary armaments included dispersed batteries of AV-7 cannons and various models of point defense systems. The ship's torpedo complement likewise consisted of 4 heavy launchers. Smaller and lighter laser cannons were mounted on the ship's prow and stern, but were mainly intended to cover the approach of landing starfighters, rather than act as a credible deterrence to enemy warships. But the offensive power of a Venator class was mainly concentrated not in its batteries, but within the ship's onboard starfighter wing. This could be used to supplement the ship's anti-starship capabilities, engage in screening tactics, or support a planetary landing. Its enormous starfighter complement was housed in a 500-meter hangar that extended from the middle of the ship's bow, with secondary hangars and docking ports situated on its port and starboard sides. The primary hangar was accessible through large ventral blast doors, with another set of smaller doors on its dorsal side. Though designed foremost as a carrier, no fleet-wide standard starfighter complement existed across the Venator class during the Clone Wars. Individual ships were instead outfitted with a wide variety of starfighters, whose numbers and models changed dramatically to counter the evolving nature of Separatist droid fighters. Perhaps the most widespread configuration utilized during the late war era consisted of 16 squadrons of Alpha 3 V-Wing starfighters, 16 squadrons of Eta 2 Actis light interceptors, and 3 squadrons of ARC 170 heavy starfighters. Though these might be supplemented or replaced entirely by V-19 Torrent starfighters, BTL Y-Wing fighter bombers, and Z-95 Headhunter starfighters. The ship's assault element was similarly diverse and flexible, but was usually based around 24 AT-TE walkers and their accompanying clone troopers. These were deployed by 40 low-altitude assault transports, or various other models of shuttles and landing craft. Though intended to only be utilized during planetary landings or boarding actions, several innovative Venator captains found ways of utilizing a Venator's ground forces during anti-starship warfare, further amplifying the ship's offensive power. Both the ship's armament and air wing were modified over the course of the war. The most dramatic refit included the installation of a heavy turbo-laser beam weapon into the ventral hangar bay. This was a haphazard and sometimes improvised solution to the Venator's general lack of armaments on the hull's underside. The main reactor of a Venator class was housed directly beneath the command towers and was considered especially powerful, but fuel-intensive by the standards of the time. Though nearly all the ship's power could be diverted towards the weapon systems or shields during emergencies, in most operating conditions it was the Venator's engines that were the most demanding. 4 primary and 4 secondary ion thrust engines made up the ship's propulsion systems, with a Class 1 main hyperdrive and Class 15 backup hyperdrive providing faster-than-light travel. The Venator class seems to have narrowly missed participating in the opening engagement of the Clone Wars, but would become foundational to the Republic Navy throughout the remainder of the conflict. The class was instead believed to have first fired its weapons in anger during the Battle of Christophsis, but the wildly uneven sizes of the Republic and Separatist fleets engaged there, and the actions of Jedi commanders present, made the effectiveness of the ship itself difficult to determine. It was not until subsequent fleet actions over Christophsis and later Corvair, Teth, and Ryloth that the Venator Class Star Destroyer had earned the reputation as one of the finest warships ever put into service. When operating alone, the class was flexible enough to engage in any kind of mission, but it was most effective when deployed in small groups, or as the main battle line in a larger armada. The Architons class light cruiser in particular was a favored escort, bolstering the Venator's firepower, particularly against smaller enemy craft. During planetary invasions, the Venator was nearly unrivaled, able to operate in atmosphere and even land on improvised runways, allowing it to disgorge its troop complement without a lengthy disembarking process. Compared to the Separatist starships it was most likely to engage in battle, the Venator occupied a unique position. Throughout the Clone Wars, the class was never the fastest, most heavily armed, best protected, or possessed the largest starfighter wing. But though it did not exceed in any single specialized area, it also lacked any easily exploitable weakness. Its armament was powerful enough to decimate smaller Separatist frigates and destroyers, while its speed allowed it to outmaneuver the far larger and more powerful Lucrehulk and Bulwark-class capital ships. It was also extremely versatile and well-suited to support innovative or unusual tactics. The destruction of the Confederacy's star dreadnought, the Malevolence, in which the Venator class played a pivotal role, was merely the first in a long string of surprising victories that might not have been possible had they relied on a more specialized class of warship. The Venator's greatest strength, however, was its ease of production. Few other classes of capital ships could be assembled in comparable numbers, and though rival Separatist designs might have had some kind of qualitative or technological advantage, they would almost always be outnumbered. By the last year of the war, Over 1,000 Venators were present in the Battle of Coruscant alone. Following the conclusion of the Clone Wars and the rise of the Galactic Empire, the Venator class became the foundation of the Imperial Starfleet, just as it had been for the former Republic Navy. The quickly repainted Grey Venators would remain common across the occupied territories of the Confederacy and even see continued action in post-war brushfire incidents and rebellions. But even before the end of the Clone Wars, Republic and then Imperial doctrine had shifted. Often outgunned during the Clone Wars, Imperial leadership now favored an increased armament at the expense of the starfighter wings and versatility that had defined the Venator class. Following the introduction of the first generation of post-war Imperial starfighters, the Venator was increasingly seen as a relic, built to function within a navy that no longer existed. Yet the legacy of the class was too important to be ignored fully, and lessons learned during the Clone Wars were incorporated into its successor, the Imperial Class Star Destroyer. Elements of the Venator were easily recognizable in every Imperial capital ship that followed, including the Super Star Destroyers utilized by the Empire, and even the Resurgence class operated by the First Order. Like so many of the starships that changed the fate of the galaxy, the Venator class was unceremoniously relegated to scrap worlds and junkyards. The few that remain are near unrecognizable, doggedly and haphazardly maintained by private military corporations, mercenaries, or pirate groups. But every now and then, in some forgotten battlefield of the Clone Wars, a near-intact Venator Class Star Destroyer might be found, pristine except for the stark impacts of blaster fire that racks its hull. For most, it will be indistinguishable from the armada of junk that drifts across the galaxy, but some might look upon it and remember the names Negotiator, Tribunal, Resolute, and Renown, or the ever more distant Republic that such mighty ships fought to save.
In Arsenal, the Templin Institute investigates the weapons, vehicles, and other constructs from across alternate worlds. If you've enjoyed this video and would like to join the Templin Institute, consider pledging to our Patreon page. Along with increased security access, you'll be able to vote in polls to determine future topics, get custom wallpaper every week, and receive some other exclusive rewards.